During the 1779-1780 Morristown Winter Encampment, the Artillery Brigade under the command of General Henry Knox encamped on this hillside. The site is marked with a red flag, a historic sign, and a boulder monument which reads, "The artillery under General Henry Knox and Colonel Baldwin were encamped on this hillside during 1779 and 1780. The soldiers were housed in huts. The guns were parked along this road. The horses were pastured in what now is Burnham Park." Sites like this one are full of spirit. They are imprinted by the events that transpired on the land. These spirits are not stuck or trapped at this location, but rather when mentioned or talked about, our energy connects to theirs like a phone call to the other side. Join the New Jersey Paranormal Project as we visit Burnham Park and pay its spirits a visit and give them a voice.
You can also bring up the stone tape theory and say the rocks and the land can record energy and the events that happened, the emotion. There was any of that, which I'm sure of. I mean, there was a war for independence being fought. Of course there was emotion, there was strife, there were stories. So the stone tape theory is pretty much the land absorbs that energy and that story. And under the right circumstances, it plays it back. And to play it back, running water is a conduit for paranormal activity. Rock, the surrounding environment.
Oh, my head hurts. Oh my God. On the here.
I feel like this way might be more active than that way, but...
Oh God. Is there anything going off up here?
Yeah, you were 1.3.
Is it still at 1.3?
No, it subsided.
That feels like a gunshot. Oh. Well, immediately walking up, ammunition, like straight up, like that's the major point of this place was ammunition. And then I was trying to read into it, is this like a gunfire? Is this like ammunition being shot around? Or is this ammunition storage? And it felt like it was ammunition storage. And then when I got that, then I got explosion. So I don't know if there was some type of, what I also just heard was commandeering. So something being commandeered. And what I do feel is that the gentleman I am seeing associated with this place, it does feel like very early American Revolution. So I don't feel like they necessarily had their uniforms very good yet. So they're kind of a little more...
Raggedy?
Yeah, ragtag.
That could make a lot of sense because when Washington came to that Jockey Hollow,
Yeah.
The soldiers were in very bad need of clothing and rations.
Oh yeah. That's
So the
right.
men were all tethered. Some didn't have shoes. some were eating the leather of the shoes to feel full.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So that whole imagery.
Yeah, so I am picking up the sensation of a woman. She's not being very communicative. She's being a little shy. I do get some sadness from her. Something happened to her. Something happened to her here. I don't know if she was she hit?
I know nothing about a woman here. So this is something that we could dig into and
I would want to look into the history of this. This could even be somebody more recent. It's actually could be like an assault. Now that I say that, it's subsiding. So maybe
it was almost like they just wanted to come forward with what happened. And was what you think she was killed, or?
I'm not sure. I feel like she was left. I don't know if she died from that incident. She definitely was beat up. Definitely was assaulted. So when I slice through history, when I go to places, whatever is the most dominating, even if it was, I don't even know, would that be 300 years ago, 250 years ago?
Yeah, like a little over 250.
That will be usually the first thing that comes off.
Really?
And you can go a little bit further in and sift through and see if anything else comes out. But usually what you get first is the most prominent specific thing of this. And with that, I don't think there were necessarily houses here after that. I don't feel like this was residential, which could contaminate the area a little bit, and you can get other things. It's literally just ammunition. And what I'm also getting, and I don't know if they've done this, have they dredged these ponds? Have they actually? Because I am feeling there are, still artifacts to be found. Evolutionary area.
Yeah.
This was the heart
of it. Right up there is Fort Nonsense, which would have been an outlook to see if the British were coming from Fort Lee, New York City.
Yeah.
So Fort Nonsense is that way.
I see big wood structures, big wood things.
Wooden huts, right? Or something bigger than a hut?
Yeah, bigger than a hut.
Maybe that's what they would have used for the cannon shot. And
yeah, I see rows of guns with bayonets, and I'm just seeing ammunition. That's literally. They're saying desperate times, desperate needs, desperate times, desperate needs.
Definitely was a desperate time.
Okay, so they're saying that they would take it for bread. They would trade it. I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't know.
It makes total sense. They're starving. They're hungry, and
They're desperate.
There's town folk that have crops and have animals, so you could see them almost bartering. Hey, here, I'll give you.
This was significant value. We just got to here, and as I was opening up here, what I was seeing was hand holding in a circle hand holding peace treaties, and this man would be his legacy, or what he would really want to be known for and valued for, and this is really passionate, would be treaties, would be something to do with peace with others, peace with creating peace.
And we looked up, you do see his latter part of his life was spent trying to work out deals with the Native Americans. So, that's really crazy to pick that up.
I think he really, really, really wants that to be known. I think there may be a little bit of coercion in what he had to do in his earlier years. It might have been against his morals, or against his integrity, or against what he really believed in. But
Right.
he really wanted to, he really was hoping for peace. I think he really was hoping that some way, somehow, there would be peace. And I think he was using his level of power and ability and his wealth, because I do think he was independently wealthy, and his wealth and power and status. Specifically, I feel like he had status in Morristown to be able to spread that message, because it was kind of an unorthodox message a little bit.
Also in the newly formed states, I mean,
Yeah.
the Indian really wasn't highly regarded. They
No.
were more of a threat at that point to the white man and to the settlers. So, you know, having somebody go out on the line like that is really more advanced than where people's mindsets were back then.
Yeah, and he's really proud of that. Yeah, he's kind of saying, like, what I did. I do feel like he might have been either a general, but what he did was, like, he kind of had to do it, because he also believed that this should be a free country. Like, he did believe that too. He had to do it, and that was the way to do it, even though that's not really what his true values were. That's really interesting. I would like to know more about what he specifically did to initiate peace, and if he did have meetings here, or if he in Morristown,
or in the surrounding areas, or even, you know, that last chapter of his life where he did work with the Indians.
Yeah.
Henry Knox was responsible for managing the nation's relations with the Native Americans and lands it claimed, following a 1789 act of the U.S. Congress. Knox, in several documents drafted for Washington and Congress, articulated the nation's early Native American policies. He stated that Indian nations were sovereign and possessed the land they occupied, and that the federal government, and not the states, should therefore be responsible for dealings with them. These policies were implemented in part by the passage of the Indian Trade and Intercourse Act of 1790, which forbade the sale of Native American lands except in connection with a treaty with the federal government. Knox wrote, "The Indians, being the prior occupants, possess the right to the soil. It cannot be taken from them except by their consent, or by right of conquest in case or just of war."
I do feel like they would see revolutionary men walking, like one of those, like, apparition, like a short, quick apparition.
But more like residual playing out.
Because I do see them patrolling. It's funny because, like, at one point I see them doing really strict drills, and then at another point I see them just being like
blasé
whatever, like not doing anything really organized.
That's kind of like the whole name of the fort, like Fort Nonsense. Fort Nonsense was created because the men had nothing to do, so they were like, go build a fort. So that's what kept them busy through a certain period of time. I see them kind
of like doing very specific drills. Like, I think this was more during the time when enemy was close, like being really, really, really diligent, really strict. And then at another point, I see them like playing die and like just sitting around, like no care in the world. Or I do feel like I don't know why he keeps coming up, but he was a pretty strict general. I don't know if he was well liked, respected. Yeah, he was kind of unorthodox.